Friday Night Racing.
Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit HRI.ie.
All right, you're very welcome along to this week's episode of Friday Night Racing, brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Share every racing moment. Visit HRI.ie or follow Horse Racing Ireland on social media. Johnny Ward is with us as ever, somewhere on a beach in France, I believe. Johnny, it's a hard life.
It's a hard life, as Flann O'Brien might tell you. Greetings from Antibes. From Antibes.
Very nice. Well, you're almost as much of a jet setter as this week's special guest, Ado McGuinness. Ado, how are you?
I have to pay for it, though. Ado gets everything paid for by his horses.
I know. Definitely, I've been jet setting the last few months. Had a great time.
You're in sunny Dundalk today, I think.
Yeah, I'm down here now at the moment as I speak to you, so it ain't too sunny down here this evening.
It's a bit nippier here than it was in Dubai during the week. You were sweating, and I'm not sure if the sweat was from just how close the race was, or if it was just because it was hot out there as well.
I was very warm there the other night, but look, with all the excitement and jumping around, I even done a press conference there and the sweat was dripping off me now. It was very, very warm, but look, it was a night I'll never forget.
Well, I was going to say, because so frequently we talk to people in racing and they're like, look, you have to take the good times and the bad times because you know the bad times are coming and you can't get too high and you can't get too low. And sometimes I think you just have to get a little bit high because it is a life-changing, once-in-a-lifetime moment.
Yeah, look, it was just a fantastic night, and to describe it, it's hard to describe it. I thought it would never, ever be Paris, but you know, it was just one of them nights. You're pinching yourself, the amount of money you're there for, you're running there for, and it's just unbelievable.
Can you take us back to the relationship with this horse, and we'll show some of the celebrations in a moment from the track itself. But when did you first when did you first get this horse, and when did you start plotting out what the horse could be, or beginning to understand where you could go with it?
Yeah, look, at this time last year, we bought the horse just before Christmas, 12 months ago, and he was sold to Hong Kong, and there was a problem with the vet, and then we got word of it, and we come in and we went down, we looked at the horse, and we got our vet in. It was actually the same vet that vetted him for Hong Kong, come in and vetted him, and he passed him. Just the Hong Kong vets didn't take him. They weren't happy with his x-rays and his knees, and we looked at him, and the knees were perfect, and we said we'd buy him, and we did. He wasn't a cheap horse. He was probably one of the most expensive horses I've ever bought, and we gave him a run in Dundalk then, and he was very impressive. Like, he beat two very good horses, Michael Brown's horse, Logo Hunter, and Jack Davison's horse, and like, he destroyed them that night in Dundalk, and he'd given them weight, and he looked very impressive, and everybody was telling me, oh, he's a Guineas horse, and we did dream of the Guineas, and we actually ran him in a Guineas trial, and he was very disappointing. I think he just ran too free and he wasn't right. And then we dropped him back at the trip again, and he won a Group 2 for us. And we headed to Ascot. Just hadn't got him right in Ascot. He had a little bit of a setback before Ascot, and we gave him a break after it. And, we entered him for the Flying Five in Champions Weekend, and lads thought I was stone mad dropping him back to 5. And I realised he had a lot of boot, and he's a real good cruiser, and we just haven't looked back since. He was second actually that night, and we supplemented him then for Paris because we hadn't got him entered for Paris.
Okay,
we haven't looked back since.
Go back a little bit. So, pardon my ignorance. How long is the Guineas?
The Guineas is a mile.
Okay, and so he's not a Guineas horse because he can't stay the mile. Is that what you're saying?
Didn't stay.
Okay.
He just didn't seem to stay that day in Leopardstown, and look at he was very free, and he just wasn't right, and we realised it, and we'd sort of given him a little break then after it. So even the best trainers in the world, it's trial and error sometimes when a horse. If they have a 2-year-old wins over 6 or 7 furlongs, they have to step him back up then to the Guineas, and some stay and some don't.
It's funny.
That race, that race, which is on actually tomorrow at Leopardstown, it's a great card tomorrow. It's effectively a Guineas trial. That's all well and good, right? So you sent that horse, that race, sent off, I think you sent off 9-4 favourite. How disappointing is a day like that? When you have a horse, you only have him not long. He's been very impressed on his first one. You've lost the dreams. When you come home from Leopardstown that day, how do you deal with disappointments like that?
Oh, listen, you're on the bottom. You're so disappointed. You're deflated. Dream gone. Where do we go? And you go and you check the horse out to see, can you find out what's wrong with him? And you're scratching your head and why did I do that? And you're calling yourself all names under the sun. I won't repeat them, but you're just completely deflated. And as I said, when I have horses that run bad, don't be in my company because I'm bad company. You can ask my wife and family that, you just really want to be on your own. And you just sort of go back to the drawing board then after the day or two, and you sort of say, well, where do we go? This is what we have to do. And look, we always try and find if there's a problem. And there was a bit of a problem that day too with him in Leopardstown. And we just felt he'd so much speed, then he didn't settle, he didn't relax, and you just have to go back to the drawing board then and hatch another plan.
And how quickly does the new plan formulate?
Yeah, look, we dropped him back in trip. Then I think about 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks after that, we dropped him back in trip, and yeah, about 6 weeks it was, and he goes and he rocks up and he wins and he beats 2 other good horses that day. So
was that the Dundalk race? Sorry, is that?
No, this was in Naas.
Right.
In a Group 2, it was the Group 3 in Naas it was, and he beat a good field of horses that day as well. And the dream is alive again. Where do we go then? And so we were dreaming of Ascot, going to Ascot for the 3-year-old colts race on the Friday, and that's where we had it then.
Just to go back to the actual buying of the horse, when we got the Princess Zoe story, it's not a million miles away, where this is a horse who, for whatever reason, becomes available and there's a bit of doubt, and then they grow into these kind of superstars that, it can be absolutely transformative experience. Like, in retrospect, is that one of the biggest breaks you're ever going to have in your career, or do you get lucky because you're actually involved and you're always listening for information that might lead you to be able to get a horse like A Case of You?
Yeah, look, he's a real rags to riches horse, because the breeder couldn't sell him as a foal. He sold him as a yearling for $3,000. And the guy, John McConnell, bought him, and like I bought him off John. I gave John a good bit of money, and he'd won a few quid for John as well. So if I had owned him, like John McConnell, and given $3,000 for him, and someone offered me substantial amount of money for him in 10, 12 months' time, I would have to sell him, because it's just a good business decision. I'm privileged that I'm able to hold on to the horse now, and we've had a few offers in for the horse, but it's a horse like that you need to, I've met so many people around the world when you run a horse like that, all over the world.
Tell us about the owner, Ado.
Yeah, Gary, and he's a great man. He doesn't drink, but the guys that hang around with him make up for it. He's very cool. He's been very, very lucky. He's a very lucky owner with me, and I think you need to be lucky. He's been very lucky with me with a lot of the horses we've had together, and he really enjoys his racing, and this horse has taken him on a journey, and we're loving every minute of it. Like, as I said, he's a millionaire horse now. It's mad, isn't it? Like, it is mad when that horse could easily have got on the plane or the boat or however they get to Hong Kong these days, and that would have been it, and it would never have been part of your life. But those sliding doors moments happen, and I think too, it's really interesting to the depth of understanding you have to have of what the talent that the horse has, that speed. Like, you're insistent it's there when you're entering him for the Flying Five. Like, was that a risk? Did it feel risky to you, or did it feel like actually what we're doing here is getting as much information as we can? Yeah, look, we'd entered him in a 6 in Doncaster as well, and I was mad keen to stay at home and go for the Flying Five, because it's a tough race. It's a stiff finish, and I knew this guy would finish very strong, and we knew he'd improve again. He kept improving, and of course it's a risk. If you ran him in the Flying Five and he finishes tailed off, you're back to the drawing board again, and or if he was outpaced and he didn't lie up. And believe you me, he's like, the first time he ever ran over 5 furlongs was in a Group 1, and he finished second in it. So you can't turn around. He has to have a lot of natural ability, which he has, and he's really only learning to sprint.
Have you had anything like him before, Ado?
Nah, not like him. I've had some very good horses. We've sold some nice horses to America. We've had some solid 108, 109 horses, which are very good horses, 110 horses. But this is just something special. He's a rocket, and the way he finishes, very good sprinters, their last furlong is the fastest furlong. And what this lad is, whereas if you've just a horse that barely stays 5, he might tread water in the last 50 yards or 60 yards. This lad is like a bullet.
It's funny,
quicker and quicker.
Yeah, my friend Adam Potsy's a filly running tonight in the first set, Dundalk, 5 furlongs, and the talk from him before the race is that she's so quick, I'm not even sure she says 5 furlongs. So how do you train a horse like as fast as him, who's basically probably a lot faster than Anthony have at home?
Yeah, we don't, I train horses and with sprinters, you don't gallop the brains at him. I don't have to find out how fast this horse is. He's learning his trade. He learned his trade as he went on, and we get him fit. We do his bit of work, his few bits of work. And even when he does work, even last week on his preps, Ian Brennan was out in Dubai with him and he done a great job with him. But his preps for Dubai was all on his own. We'd know how, I don't have to put a horse with him to find out how good he is. The odd day I might send a companion with him just to lead him for a while. But like all his fast work in Dubai there for the last 3-4 weeks, he done it all on his own. He just galloped on his own, and it's easy. You just get him fit. I get him fit, and then I know exactly where I want and what I want to do with him. And as I said, I don't want to see a horse like him. I don't take him off the bridle or anything like that. We just, we get a blowout into him, get a fitness blow into him, and that's all. And we just I knew he would improve after Super Saturday out there. I knew he'd improve again, which he did. He had a little bit of a setback going out in the plane, but he was fine. He hurt his tongue, and he went round in Dubai for 2 days with his tongue hanging out before he ran in Super Saturday. But we got him there, and the vets had looked at him, and he was fine to run after. But other than that, we never had a minute's trouble with him out there. And he's so much he's just so much natural ability. It's to be honest, it's nearly easier trying a horse like him than trying a low-grade handicapper not 65.
Absolutely. I've often said that I think Strava should be introduced to racing, because for cycling and running and all that, it gives you amazing data. Like even just people running their few kilometres a week, they can tell that they're improving or whatever, and they can tell their top speed. What's his top speed? How fast can this horse actually run?
Look, I would honestly say I think I'd be very disappointed if this horse doesn't win us another Group 1 before the year's out. And he's the other day, to me, he put the race to bed very quickly, and there's no way they were catching him in the end. He won it cozy enough the other day, and he's another few pounds to improve to be, to me, he's one of the best sprinters in the world, and I'm privileged to have him.
Yeah, I was talking to Ger before we came on, and he said, "Oh my God, he was 14-1, and he won the 10-11 favourite, Man of Promise. He won 10-11 favourite."
Yeah, he won. We were slagging because we were actually drawn beside one another the last day on Super Saturday, but Man of Promise was where KCU was, and we were where Man of Promise was, and it was the opposite way around this time. But where both horses were drawn, you couldn't say one had a better advantage. The rail is an advantage. The high draw over in Dubai is a big advantage. But we beat him fair and square the last day, and there was no crying about it.
Everybody should go and look at the race. Can you just explain that bit about the rail to us? Because the whole field lurches over towards the rail. Is that just an automatic thing, or is the course actually?
The course rides. It just rides that bit quicker that side. I don't know, is it because of the watering or not, but they seem to always tack across that side. Now, as it happened last Saturday, all the pace was on that side. So there was a lot of pace on that side, and there was a lot of good horses on that side. And, they were always going to go that way. And Ronan, in all fairness to him, he gave him a superb ride, because he never gave the rail away. He never gave, he held his posse the whole way, which was it wasn't a case where he was going to follow somebody. That's my spot, and there's no one else getting it. That's the way Ronan rode the horse the other day, and he was just fantastic on him.
So it's a good draw, because sometimes the outside draw people complain about it, but actually,
over 5 straight 5 there that side, it's a very good draw. And you look down, it's like Cork and the 7 in Cork. You think there's no bias in Cork, and the high draws always seem to go to stand side in Cork. Why, I don't know, but if you look at the track, you'd say there's no advantage, but it's just the way the races pan out, and these seem to always go that side, and the high draws seem to be really very favourable in Cork and some tracks. I've often seen it in Naas as well.
You obviously had a lot of confidence then in the horse when the race was going. As the race unfolds, when does your confidence begin to kick into, this is going to happen?
Oh, look at it. If you see the replays, when we saw him, the way he was holding his posse and the way he was coming in the last furlong, think my voice is still not back to normality yet. And, you know, we got very vocal. My daughter was there, my wife was there. There was a good crowd of lads there, that friends and guys, but friends of Gary's as well. And we just, in the last half of furlong, we went completely bananas. And Ian Brennan sprinted the whole way down the straight. Like when the horse, you know, when he was going by him, it was, I don't know if you've seen any of the footage of it, but a couple of television crews got him. One got him like from behind, and another crew got him coming at him, and you'd swear he was after committing murder and running away from the police. It was just flat out. He was roaring, and you know, just the expression on the chap's face just said it all. And even he saw us in the parade ring the other night. We made plenty of noise, and as I said, Sheikh Mohammed mightn't have known who I was Saturday morning, but he certainly knew who we were Saturday evening after the race was over with the noise we made. And he was there in the ring as well. So look, it was just a wonderful night.
Well, look, we have a little bit of footage which you posted, in fairness to the Twitter account, which everybody should also follow as well. Have a look at this.
They follow that air the balls with things first. A case of you under the outside rail, banging contention. The painkillers of Tennessee Breeders towards the end of the field.
No sound on it, unfortunately, but yeah, so it's on your Twitter account. We'll tweet the link to it a little bit later on so everybody can have a look at it. It is sensational stuff. When that happens, like, and it's the culmination of the setbacks that you've had and the good fortune that you've had along the way, it does feel like you're kind of cresting to a moment in your career. I see one of your interviews, you said you're an overnight success after 20 years of hard work. That's exactly how it happens, though, isn't it? It's like a load and load of hard work, and you're actually ready for it when it comes.
Yeah, look at it when you come. You know, we can't do it. None of us can do something like this without the animals. And I suppose I'm privileged to have the animal. And it's not just him. I've had a great couple of years with good horses. We've got our hands on better horses. And, you know, previous to that, I'm driving up and down to Dundalk for years with low-grade handicappers and maybe one good horse. I've a yard of good horses now, and it's, you know, I'm privileged to have them, and I've better owners, and we've sourced better owners. And, you know, it's not easy to do that. And, you know, we've got to make the most of it now and try and continue that. And I've met a lot of people out across the world there the last 6 or 7 months, and we've made, you know, we've done a little bit of business, and that's what life's all about, like trying to better yourself. And it's just the wealth of people that was there even last Saturday night was just unbelievable. So
was that a conscious decision to go more global and think more global, and not just think that, like, you'd think of Ireland and England even when you're plotting your races? Because, you know, it's noticeable.
Yeah, well, look, we like, when you have a sprinter like this, there's only one Group 1 sprint in Ireland, and that's the Flying Five in September. So the programme for a horse like him is not great. Now, I know we ran him here in Dundalk in early January there, just to get a pipe opener into him, you know, before we went to Dubai. And it was great that we were able to bring him down here and give him like, it was really like a piece of work to him. And it was no bad race either. There was only a few horses in it, but it wasn't a bad race. And you have to travel with a horse like him to get money. I could stay at home and run for 50 grand, you know, but like, the prize money is just colossal. And the guy won more money the other night in Dubai than I did for the whole of my grass season last year in Ireland. So, and I had the best season ever in Ireland last year. So that just goes to show you the amount of money that we've won on the Saturday night. So you have to, like, these opportunities, when you have a horse there capable of doing that, you have to take them. And the money, like, that's available, even Australia, we're looking at Australia at the minute. Like, there's a sprint in Australia next November worth $4 million sterling to the winner. Like, wow. It's 1.6 or 1.7 million to second, and 750,000 sterling to the third.
Wow.
Like, that's the class of money that's available out in these countries. So when you have a horse that's capable of doing something like this, you have to go for it. Yeah,
it sounds like that just makes perfect sense. That speed that you see, when did you know that the horse was going to be that fast when you were buying the horse, or did the horse actually even surprise you when you got it home and started to time it?
Yeah, look, he wins over 6.5 furlongs as a 2-year-old. You'd always say he's going to go further and go to, I think he won his maiden over 7. So, and it was a stiff 6 that day up the Curragh and soft ground. And, you know, you'd always say, sure, he's going to go further. He could be a really nice Guineas horse and, you know, something like that. And as I said, the same thing. There's been so many trainers have horses with so much ability to win race like this, and then all of a sudden they drop them back and trip, and all of a sudden they're sprinters and away they go. And it's, it is trial and error sometimes, but I did feel he had so much natural speed, we had to drop him back.
And then the course of the season where you're because he was in the States as well, I think, right? And actually ran his fastest time up to that point in finishing 4th or 5th in that race. Is that right?
Yeah, I think he learned a hell of a lot that day in that was over in Santa Anita at the Breeders' Cup, with fabulous time over there. But he learned a lot, and I just said, if he goes back to the States again, this horse, he'd be an awful lot. He was just wasn't as sharp jumping out the gates as some of the American horses, but he finished very strong over there. The straight, like when you race 5 furlongs around the bend and you start way out the far side, the bend is, it's not much bigger than the Greyhound track here in Dundalk, to be honest with you. And there's such a short straight, it's only a little over a furlong and a half. So we knew the track wouldn't suit, but it was just an opportunity we couldn't miss. And look, we got 50,000, for being for going over there. And when we won in Paris, it was winning you're in, so the entry fees were paid. So we had to pay for the carriage and that over. But look at the experience he got over there. And our target will be either the Australian race or go back to the Breeders' Cup at the end of the year. That's where we really want to be again.
This has been a strange kind of theme in recent years in Ireland in terms of the very fast horses we have generally have not been trained by Ado O'Brien or one of these big trainers. It's been more like, Edward Lyman had 2 really good sprinters in the space of a couple of years together, essentially. Tom Hogan had a very good horse, and Gordon Lord Byron, so on and so forth. And it's a strange quirk that this horse, who started off the top of my head, running in a Bellewstown maiden, then won a maiden at Down Royal for John McConnell, who again wouldn't have Group 1 horses really at all, ends up with Ado and ends up being essentially Ireland's fastest horse.
Yeah, that's true. And he as I said, we didn't buy him to be a sprinter. We bought him to be because he was a good horse, and it's just we found the niche when we found out where he was, what he was good at, and on we go, and we've been very lucky.
As a result,
I think it's something, Jared, as well. Sorry, briefly, that we should promote more, because everyone in jumps racing pretty much would say, the Champion Chase is an amazing race, Tingle Creek's an amazing race, 2 Mile Chase are amazing races, but 5 furlong sprints, when you have exceptionally fast horses, when you see that up close, you realise the power and amazing speed of these animals and what they can do. And hopefully, we only have a Group 1 sprint in the Curragh in Ireland. It's the first Group 1 sprint that we've had, and that's only been a recent edition, Champions Weekend, and hopefully now we can see Ado's horse run in Ireland and appreciate the quality of these horses running as fast as they literally can, the fastest horses in the country.
And so, sorry, last totally stupid question for me, I promise. Because he's a colt, does that mean he's not a gelding, and so therefore at some point in the future can stand at stud?
Yeah, he'll head off to stud at somewhere, and hopefully I can keep him for another couple of years, and he stays sound, and we can as I said, since last August the horse he's won 1.2 million, which is an immersive amount of money to win. And and there's still an awful lot of good pots there to go and win as well. So we're going to chase them as much money as possible with this horse and group races as well. We could have gone to Saudi Arabia this year for another $1.5 million race, and we declined it because we said we go to Dubai and chase the Group 1 pot, a Group 1 status race.
This is the other quirk of the whole thing, Jerry, is that as much as he is a stallion down the line, because of his, as Ado says, his rather unfashionable page, there's no guarantee he would command a massive fee at stud, because it's a crowded market. Most first season stallions basically end up being ordinary or not very good. So I guess, Ado, there's no pressure at all to stop this lad running.
No, there's not. And as I said, the breeders' breeding is like fashion, and if your horse is not in fashion, it's very hard to sell him. So it's going to take a lot of marketing and a lot of. You'd love this horse when he does go to stud to get 20 real good mares every year that's producing black type winners, not just ordinary handicappers to cover. You'd love him to get 20 proper black type mares, and probably breeders won't send them because they'll probably go they'll go for a more solid or sire that known that it's going to get them stakes races. As much as he might get 2 black type horses to cover probably in his first year, where you'd love to be able to get a horse like him 20. If you look at Frankel, one of the best horses in the world, he didn't cover a bad mare. He covered all top class mares. So he's a great chance of breeding top-class horses because he's got the top-class mares. Now, if the likes of KCU got a book of mares like Frankel would be getting, you would be, you'd be 90% sure of guaranteeing to get a lot of very good race horses.
It's funny that, isn't it? That like them that has gets. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah. And that's the way it works, and it's fashion. And if
a lot of it is pedigree as well, to be fair.
Sorry.
A lot of it is pedigree, to be fair. Like if you were if you were a horse going to stud who, as good as he is at the racecourse, isn't particularly well bred, it will put people off, and that's fair as well.
Of course. And if he got a very good racehorse in his first 2 years at stud, well then he could go like the likes of Memas. Memas has gone from a $5,000 sire up to, I think he's 60 or 70 grand now, and that's all happened in the last 4 or 5 years because he's producing horses, and he was just a workman. Like I think he was a Group 2 or a Group 3 winner as a.
It's like Kodiak. Kodiak started at 5 and then he was 50, and Dylan Thomas went the other way, despite Dylan Thomas being a far better racehorse.
Some start off very expensive and come down, and the others go the opposite way. And the horse that goes the opposite, that gets dearer all the time, he's definitely producing racehorses.
This is obviously an extra part to the business, apart from making sure the horse is fit and runs as fast as you possibly can and peaks for the Group 1s. Is this part of the game that, like, when you have a wonder horse like this, that you might be interested in getting involved in as well as the training?
Look, we'd all maybe try and keep. I'll hopefully be able to get a couple of covers every year from him. And I'll probably get a mare or some, a nice mare to cover with him in time. It's not something that I'll do, but I will want to do, but I will do it because I will have a cover, a cover free, and which will be a big, it'll be a help. It'll be cheaper on me to breed off, with him. So I will do it. There's no doubt I will do it if he stands at stud in Ireland. He could stand. You wouldn't know where he'll stand,
Yeah. Yeah, it's an incredible story, and just again how that one horse. But just the other part about this is obviously, them that has gets, like when the world looks and watches you train a sprinter as well as you're training this, I presume other owners are like, do you have any other sprinters? Is there anybody else you have your eye on there, Ado? It is like a virtuous circle, right?
Yeah, look, as I said, good horses will always you'll try and attract better horses into your yard. And over the last few years, we've got Group 3 and Group 2 winners and listed winners, and we've won it. We target a lot of big Premier handicaps with our horses that are capable of winning them. So that's why we target them. And we'll try and do that. We'll try. We're like, I was in Dubai, I was down in Doha there a few weeks back as well, and I met a good few people, and there's a few of them coming over to Ireland during the summer. They're going to stay with us. So it's all about getting new contacts, and some of these people are quite wealthy, so you have a great chance of buying a good horse when you have some money. It's like a football team. Chelsea, if you just take that into account, that they're the best, one of the best teams, because they're spending and buying the best players.
My Racing Moment is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Share every racing moment. Visit HRI.ie or follow Horse Racing Ireland on social media. So specifically, you talked about either the Breeders' Cup or Australia. In the meantime, what is the plan?
We go to Royal Ascot with him. We'll make an entry in the Flying Five or in the King's Stand and the Diamond Jubilee, and then we'll come back and he'll do the Flying Five at home in Paris and either Breeders' Cup, or he'll either go to Breeders' Cup or the Australian race.
That's pretty exciting for the rest of the year. And I wouldn't mind, but it's not like you have one horse at the moment who's tearing up trees. I think it's 6 winners last weekend. Yeah,
we had a great weekend last weekend, all across the board. I think after he won in Dubai the other night, I think 25 minutes later, Laugh a Minute won up the Curragh in the opening of the flat season, and it was brilliant. We just had a great week. Horses are in good form. I'm lucky. I had great staff at home while I was away there. The boys were working hard, and they worked really, really hard, and it's a great team effort from everybody, and I'm lucky that I have the horses, and I'm blessed that I have good staff.
I think the other
reliably informed, Ado, that the Harold House shut at 11 o'clock on Sunday night.
Oh, they did. I think there was a lot of money floating around there the other night. After did a good win on Sunday as well, up in Naas as well. The boys were happy, and they definitely did. They were very happy boys now last weekend, which is that's what life's all about. When you get and the boys like to enjoy themselves as well, that's what racing's all about, and a bit of enjoyment. And even last week where we were in Dubai, we were looked after so well. Lads all had a great time, and you're just until you go out there and see the place, it's very hard to describe it. Even the atmosphere and the whole place, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, listen, congratulations, Ado. Couldn't happen to somebody who hasn't worked harder and deserves it more. Thanks a million for joining us, and it's been great watching over the last couple of years. Cheers.
Thanks, Ado.
Thank you very much.
It's Ado McGuinness there giving us some insight into how things are going at the moment, and they are going pretty well. This is Friday Night Racing here on Off the Ball. If you want to get in touch with us, if this is during the evening show, you can text us on 53106. You can leave a comment on the YouTube stream either. We stream live every Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock on all our social channels, and then the full thing obviously airs on Off the Ball on News Talk. We're going to take a quick break. Friday Night Racing on Off the Ball is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit HRI.ie.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit HRI.ie. Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit HRI.ie.
Right, we have a brilliant prize for horse racing fans we're going to be giving away at our big return to live events next Monday. Enjoy corporate hospitality at its finest for you and your guests at the 150th running of the Boyle Sports Irish Grand National on Easter Monday. The package includes admission, race cards and lunch in the Jemison Stand restaurant, where you can base yourself for the day to be with a chance to win. Just join us at our Boyle Sports Irish Grand National Roadshow on the 4th of April. Check out otbsports.com and our social channels to register for that. So we've been listening to Ado McGuinness there. If you've just joined us, you missed just somebody who is in a sweet spot in his career at the moment. Johnny, just put some context on that, will you? Because I'm not sure, again, maybe we didn't make a big enough deal out of the quantum leap forward that he's made in his career in the last couple of years after, as he put it himself, 20 years of hard work.
Yeah, and I think, his assistant, Stephen, as well, they've put a lot of hard yards into, not the hard yards on the gallops themselves, but the hard yards of sourcing horses from other stables that they think they can improve. Now, normally the budget for that would be such that they'd end up buying handicappers to target premier handicaps, and we've seen Ado and Galway winning the Galway Mile and the 7 furlong race and all that with horses who are able to turn up every year and contest these relatively lucrative races. But to find a horse like a Case of You is just, it's kind of the luck of the draw to some extent. He'd won a Group 3 as a 2-year-old for John McConnell. Now, he must have been by far the most he's ever spent on a horse, and obviously he doesn't own him himself. But Gary Devlin presumably has saved plenty of money, as many of us would have if we lived a teetotal lifestyle. I don't know what Gary does, but he's obviously a very astute man. So he buys this horse. He's probably rated in the region of 105 or whatever into his 2-year-old campaign, which would mark him out as being very, very promising. But at no point would you think he's going to end up winning a Group 1 in Maidan worth whatever it is, 600 grand. So there's a bit of luck involved. He's not particularly well bred. He's not well bred, actually. He's cheaply bred hot streak out of Keelup mare. But he's just turned into a very, very good horse. And partly that's down to Ado's training. Partly that's down to the fact that they've become extremely adept, him and Stephen, at sourcing good horses. You
mentioned the Leopardstown cards this weekend. It's, again, we're just getting into that part of the season where people are not quite finished with the national hunt, because obviously there's a massive end of season still to come, and we're, we think, on the verge of some mouth-watering clashes at the end of the season in Ireland over the jumps. But this is the bit of the year where people start looking towards the summertime and the flat season. I know you've been doing a bit of work for us on this recently, the pre-season launch at the Curragh. What is it this weekend in particular that you thought was good about the cards?
Well, just briefly on that, it was really odd because the three people we got, and I really enjoyed the interview with Colin Keane, Siobhan Rutledge and Rhonda Whelan. Siobhan Rutledge basically works with John McConnell, who trained the Case of You, and Ronan Whelan ended up riding a Case of You basically for his Group wins. So that actually featured in the programme, even though we had no idea what was going to happen at Maida. Anyway, this weekend, the Leopardstown card is the Ballysacks and the Guineas trials. Now, the Ballysacks when I got into racing was a really, really solid Derby trial, which led on to the Dernstown, which is the next step towards winning the Derby. The first time I went to the Ballysacks was in 2004 when Yates won the race by about 10 lengths, and he looked like he was going to run away with the Derby. And for the life of me, I can't remember what happened, but he didn't run in the Derby. He must have been injured that year, and now he's siren winners at Cheltenham and so on and so forth. But it hasn't really, I suppose, maintained its place in terms of being a proper Derby trial. But it's a fascinating race tomorrow. I mean, you have Fizbadil for Donnacha O'Brien. He reckons he's best horse. I think he's by Ulysses, Swan Bay and Buckaroo, two very good horses for Joseph O'Brien. Ryan Moore is over to ride Bluegrass, was only rated 98 for Aidan O'Brien, and for me would have a bit to prove. And as I say, maybe it's not like the Derby trial that it was, but it's a really intriguing race. Bolshoi Ballet won it last year, to point out. He actually went off hot favourite in the Derby. And then you have the trials as well for the Guineas, and it's just a really, really nice card. I don't know what the weather is like there, but the ground is good, and everyone should like races to get along to Leopardstown.
I think the weather's just as good here as it is in OTB, Johnny, and I'm not going to tell you what the weather's like. It's none of your business.
Well, I got into just to give an indication of the French mentality or the South France mentality. We got into the water there for a swim. We were literally the only people in the beach, maybe 200 people in the water, and after about 1 minute in the water, you're like, if they think this is cold, I mean, seriously, go to Sea Point in this time of year and you would be out of the water. So there's a real Irish hardiness developing since lockdown, Joe, these sea swimmers. And the water here was positively balmy, even though there wasn't a single French person in it.
There you go, even if you do say so yourself. The last few weeks of the Tote 10 to follow, leading to the finale at the Aintree Grand National, are looking like a victory lap for you, it says here, and your 100-point lead.
Why do I win? Gimme.
Danny Mullen's position in second place looks equally unassailable. He's got a 160-point lead over me, who it turns out is going to be Paddy last. I just got a bit of bad advice early on, and I didn't follow through on some of the changes I should have made. Tote have begun rolling out the Tote guarantee at Irish racecourses, meaning Tote customers are guaranteed SP or better on all win bets at the races. Tote guarantee will be available to racegoers at Leopardstown, Cork and Fairyhouse for the first time this weekend. To find out more, just ask a member of Tote staff. That's it for this week's edition of Friday Night Racing. Johnny, good stuff. Thank you very much.
Have a good weekend, Joe.
We'll see you next week at Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock. We're broadcast live across all of OTB's social channels. And then obviously we broadcast that evening on Off the Ball on News Talk. Until then, take care.
Friday Night Racing
On Off the Ball.
brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit HRI.ie.